You could say better late than never. We've been through over a decade of European crises through which European leaders, including the leaders of France and Germany, have been actually unable to respond in any way that strikes as ambitious, visionary, imaginary, or even effective. So for the first time after 10 years of economic and political crisis, we see some action. And indeed, we see some action that goes in the direction of ambition. It is, I think, not to be underestimated, as was being said, the size of the rescue fund, of the investment foreseen by it, and it is not to be underestimated that Germany is back at the table. Now, the question is it enough to continue with a European Union where the Franco-German axis occasionally, apparently once in a decade, manages to do just about what it takes not to let the Eurozone collapse? Or should we be looking at a more ambitious process of reform that transforms the dysfunctional intergovernmental system of which the Franco-German partnership is part into a real effective transnational democracy for the European Union? That is to say, and I finish with this, the rescue fund will be an important element of the German presidency. We should not forget the so-called Conference on the Future of Europe, because investment is important, but a political community is not going to be made only by money. We need institutional and democratic reform to make that effective.
Lorenzo Marsili of European Alternatives, thank you so very much indeed. Back to you very shortly. Moving on to Daniel Stelter from the discussion group Think Beyond the Obvious. Daniel, this aspect of development in Europe going hand in hand, one thing doesn't go without the other. You need the financial investment, but you need to sort of work on the other issues too. Is that how you see it moving? Do you think it's possible?
Well, let me start by saying that I'm in favor of the European Union, and being in favor doesn't mean that you should not be in a position to criticize what's going on. And I'm also supporting the initiative of France and Germany of doing something together. The point is, I'm with Lorenzo, it's much too small. 750 billion are not going to fix the problem. The second point is it's not addressing the root causes, because yes, we had Corona. It was a human tragedy and it was an economic problem, a crisis for Europe, but mainly a humanitarian tragedy for Italy. On the other hand, we have to accept that the high debt levels of Italy, of Spain, of Portugal, and also of France, we had the issue already before Corona. So in addition, we had already divergent competitiveness. Keep in mind that since we introduced the euro, the economies of the eurozone have diverged, they're not converged. So we have two problems, divergent competitiveness and very high debt levels. And by just installing transfers from Germany to the other countries, we are not going to address these issues. In addition, we also have a point around fairness. Just keep in mind that if you look at total debt levels, Italians have a low debt level like the Germans have. The French have a very high debt level. When I mean total debt level, I mean private households, private companies, and the government. So in Italy, it's more a problem of too high debt level of the state and very rich private households. Compared to GDP, by the way, the Italians have more private wealth than the Germans. So assuming Germany will be able to sustain the whole European project just by more and more transfers, my point of view is just a hope which cannot be sustained, given the fact that Germany faces existential crisis of its most important industries, like the automotive industry. We have the upcoming demographic change. So we've got many issues coming here. And therefore, in my view, what we need to do is we have to address the existing debt level. And just last sentence, and my proposal here is to pool existing government debt of all countries, including Austria, including the Netherlands, including Germany, on a European level, and have it refinanced by the ECB, by the way, in a perpetual way, so basically getting it off our books. And then we can continue as we did in the past, and we have autonomy. Keep in mind, if you inherit 10 million euros from your grandfather in Germany, you pay more than 2 million euros inheritance tax. If you inherit 10 million euros from your grandfather in Italy, you pay less than 400,000 euros inheritance tax. This example already shows you how difficult it is to embark on transfer union without agreeing first on this global and not a global, but on a European-wide similar taxation, similar social welfare, etc., etc. We won't be able to do this, and therefore rather deal with the existing debt than hoping that transfers are going to fix the problem. They buy us time, but they are not the solution.